So, Tony Walsh, you're talking about Bryce Gibbs will win the Brownlow next year with the Adelaide Crows. That's a big, big trade. Adelaide Crows come up short in the grand final this year. They were the offensive powerhouse of the AFL in a very, very even year. Arguably, I argue that it was the hardest flag to win, and Richmond did it. Bryce Gibbs wins a Brownlow. Does that mean that the Crows win the flag? Tony Walsh.
Well, no, they're not going to win the flag. Not losing Jake Lever and Charlie Cameron. Not losing two big names like that.
Got the injury. Who's the guy who did his leg?
Rick Disneck.
No, did his knee. There's a Crow player who is also out for the season. So they've lost Jake Lever, they've lost Charlie Cameron, and there's also hold on. Keep going, Walsh.
Well, the thing is with Adelaide, they're always going to be good. You got to remember that they finished on top of the ladder last year, and their forward line's actually the most potent forward line in the competition. It didn't fire; they were firing blanks. The momentum had completely run out by September 30, and they had nothing going on. But they were a good team. They could score goals from a lot of different sources. Eddie Betts is getting a bit old too. By the way, he's must be 34 now. So you can't expect a small forward to be applying the pressure of that a 22-year-old, 25-year-old can apply. So I'm not sure what Eddie's going to be doing. I think he might have done his day, but Bryce Gibbs, he is definitely going to be the player to watch for this year. I think Port Adelaide, you mentioned about trades. You've got Watts is going to be feeding. You're going to be feeding all those forwards. Watts is he's going to stand up. He's another player that could feature well in the Brownlow voting as well. And you mentioned Rockcliffe, but I think that Jack Watts will probably be more dominant for Port than what Rockcliffe will.
This is Rick Disneck. He's a chance this year, I reckon.
Yeah, well, we've got this gymnast. What's this gymnast all about? Oh, yeah. Have you ever done anything like that?
The Crow was by the way. You don't lose a guy the calibre of Brodie Smith, Jake Lever, and Charlie Cameron. They're going to struggle to maintain the elite level of talent they have.
Jake Lever, what does he do? Fill me in.
So he's gone to Melbourne for $750,000 a year.
Yeah,
so he was a good halfbacker.
Yeah, so he's Alex Rance before he develops, but he's doing contested marking. He's a champion. He's going to be a very good footballer, and he's already doing it at 21. So Melbourne have taken a punt. He's a gun. Charlie Cameron.
Because they lost McGovern.
Yes,
and that could have spelled of their campaign. Was that Roscoe?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they did.
Well, Ken Hinkley's been running the same he's been in the same program for the last 4 years.
He coaches Port Adelaide.
Seriously. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, aren't we?
Sorry.
Port Adelaide?
What was it? No, we're talking about
Walshy.
Tom Pike and Scott Camporelli are going to have to come up with something better this year.
Was he the softest footballer that ever lived? Camporelli?
Camporelli.
Yeah.
Do you know there was a Justin Murphy that played at Carlton, and he played in some big games. Yeah, he played quite well as well. But I tell you what, I've never seen a lazier player than him, and at big times as well.
Why did we pick him up? And that's why you let him go. And you probably got him for a discount. That's how Geelong is a very, very well run organisation. Now we've got Brian Cook, but we were a very, very poor organisation. Justin Murphy bought him up. We bought him for how much and probably sold him at a discount. Back to Carlton.
Yeah, he was yeah, there was some games that he played that I used to yell out, take him off. And I've never done that. I was never the type of supporter that yelled out, take him off. But this guy, he wouldn't chase. He'd be thinking, what he'd do is he'd be thinking, right, if they've got the ball and they're running forward, let me see if I can get to a position to get the ball next.
Yep.
So he wouldn't, there was no defensive side of his game. He was always thinking, right, how can I get on the end of it? So if, for most of the crowd who are watching, they're thinking, oh, Murphy's got the ball again. He's getting the ball, 5-6 times this quarter. But if you're actually watching the game, you're thinking, geez, mate, you should have put in 3 tackles there, or, so I think that's the difference between 90s football and this era of football, is that coaches are actually watching that. They actually had so many specific coaches that you can't hide anymore.
There's film. So you reckon that's a big difference? So you played at the elite level.
Well,
especially at junior.
I played a game.
You played at elite level, big fella.
Yeah, but players didn't go at as hard, and they wasn't like, they used to know. They used to save their legs. So, like, if a team was in front when I played, and it was the last 15 minutes of the game, if it was the last 15 minutes of the game and they were up by 10 goals, players weren't going to, you'd just let somebody run off, or, you're not going to go back into a pack, where now they're running head first at the ball and putting their head over the ball because they know there's a camera out there. Did you
see the statistics on the women's footy? Concussion, double the rate that men have.
Why?
They don't have control.
No control, yeah. Literally, men know how to protect themselves. They've been playing high collision sport for a lot. We kind of grow up on it.
Yep.
And they don't know how to protect themselves. And the other part is cameras. They just go hard. They've got to prove something.
I noticed that. I noticed that in Japan. The Japanese were the same, because we were teaching them, but we were adults and they were adults. So I did see a lot of head-high collisions that could have been avoided. I remember would bring him up as a guy we used to play with, Sandy Khan. I remember one time he's gone down and he's just turned his body and took his eyes off the ball. And I hadn't played that much football because, like you said before, I played American football and I played a lot of rugby as an adult. And so I hadn't seen that. That was something I learned. It was like, okay, just get the body contact, then pick up the ball. And that was something I learned just from that one play. And that wasn't taught. That was one thing I remember. We didn't really teach that as fundamental. I don't remember teaching that, teaching players to be hard at the ball and those fundamentals that now if I'd coach, I'd make sure I'd drill it into players.
Yeah. When I watch Kieran Byrne, that's a good point. When I watch Kieran Byrne, he's a Carlton defender, really athletic, got all the skills in the world, but he looks like he's going to do a knee. He's going to do his knee or his ankle every game he plays. He doesn't know how to butter up. He doesn't know when he kicks just how to kick and butter up at the same time. He doesn't know how. I said use the word butter up. I mean like be able to ride the bump as you kick. He just seems to be that second off. So it's just like he's kicking and then he's going to get bumped and you can tell he's going to land wrong. Just those little things like that. And that also happens to you when you get into your 30s. You just don't have that agility anymore and you're just that little bit more rigid. And that's another reason why you get so many injuries when you're at the later stages of your career.
Yeah, right. It's interesting you use that phrase butter up. We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Where butter up.
I'll stop using it, mate, because it's got...
It's interesting how the usage has changed in an AFL context.
Yeah.
In an Australian rules football context, where when I search on the internet, it's more brown nosing, sucking up, that sort of shit, where
Yep.
it means a massively different thing in.
No, butter up's like face another battle. Put back
Yep.
in there.
Get back in there, and you've got to be able to ride the bump. If you're within the play, you ride it and sort of like get back in there, as you said. So it's really interesting, and it's been a good change with the lists. I think you went through about 15 changes at the Lions. Geelong had made the big change, bringing the Messiah back from Geelong, from the Gold Coast.
The prodigal. How do you say it, Roscoe?
Prodigal.
Prodigal.
Oh shit!
Well, by the way, his dad, the Gary Ablett Senior, he was known as the Pontiff.
I've got to go, guys. I've got to pause. I'll come back.
Pause. All right, buddy.
What happened, mate?
The prodigal son.
You spilled what? You're recording this, by the way. You should press pause, mate. It's recording.
Okay. Pause.
Well, there's also been a few trades, like Carlton picked up Lang from Geelong. Are you sad to see him go there, Tone?
Yeah, he was a good player. He was a good little player. He's a bit player, but he was. I always liked it when he came in to the team. He was a good midfield. He could play forward or back, and never let us down. But yeah.
And Carlton picked up Kennedy as well, which Kennedy seems to be. We've got like this poaching from GWS. So we seem to poach all their young talent, and they seem to poach everybody's old talent. So, everyone who's kind of like got 2 years left in them ends up at GWS, and everybody who's up and coming ends up leaving. So it's unusual there. And the other big thing is for Roscoe, you've got Weller, who's come across from who's from the that's Gold Coast has picked him up from Freo. And they gave away draft 2, their second pick in the draft. Big call. That was probably one of the biggest moves of the trade period. Is Clayton saying you give up?
Yeah, massive.
Apart from those moves, Jared Wellingham has been from the West Coast Eagles. Sharad Wellingham. And he was actually a tough player.
Did he get delisted?
He got delisted, he was a regular fixture and he was a regular player for the West Coast, so unusual.
Yeah, he can play footy. It's amazing how people just get, at the elite level, guys of his quality and calibre, they find
what do you think it is
at the end of their career?
Do you know what? There was a Lyset. There was for West Coast who turned it up. He was just the classic. Took a second look and butted up and just didn't go for the ball in last year's elimination final, and they lost the game. And those type of plays often it might be just one play where you just don't go at it like you should.
It's a notice of intention, and that person is not going to deliver you a premiership or put the head over the ball. Whatever it is, it's a lack of faith, and clubs will have a different scoring system, whatever it is. But you imagine, Walsh, you've got people you grow up with, whether it's a family member, a friend. If you don't feel that person has your back, or that if times get tough, they can't help you manufacture the win that you need to survive, then what do you need to do in order to survive? You need to cut them loose and find someone that will. And that's what clubs are doing.
Yep.
That's a big call, mate.
And it's tough, right? You might have talented people, but if they cannot fucking deliver or give you a sense of this person's holding the line, Maximus, hold the line, stay with me. But he's not going to stay with me. He's not going to hold the line. Then he's a Richard Tambling.
Richard Tambling.
Or a Scott Gumbleton. Yeah.
Gumby. Or a Lee.
Or a Josh Schache. Yeah.
Or a
Josh Schache now.
Josh Schache.
Mate, I remember Carlton picked up Hawker from Essendon, and everyone was saying, we've got Hawker. And I remember that was the first time that I'd ever thought that Carlton were going down the wrong path. Like, that was like a sign for me when we picked up Hawker. I was like, oh, no, not Hawker. No.
What year was that?
God, that would have been mid-80s. And that's, I tell you what, picking up Hawker wasn't good. Ken Hunter was my favourite player back in the day. He should have retired.
Kenny Hunter.
Yeah, he hung around for 2 years too long, and he ended up being a kind of like fringe player, lucky to get a game in the ones. And he was a champion before that. These players, they've got to give it up. So, it's you've got to be able to know it a bit yourself as well. These players have got to put their hand up and say, look, no.
It's a hard thing to say, look, my body can't take it. But you know what it's like? When you draft a player, you want it. It's as much sales as anything. So Luke Hodge, right, for the Lions right now, he might play 5 games. But right now, he's instilled confidence in our supporter base that he can come in and help the young guys develop. And so it's a good news story. And that's part of it as well. So your trades or your delistings are about, shit, we mean business, or the club's actually giving us faith. And it's as much sales and marketing and propaganda as anything.
Yeah,
you got to sell a dream and a vision to people, because you might not win it. What if you're a Footscray and you win 54 and then 2016?
Well, this is the thing, right? Stevie J, he's given it up. Revolt's given it up. Like, if Carlton picked up Revolt, I'd be pretty happy about that. Like, I reckon he's got, he could still play. And, like, it kills St Kilda supporters. And they're a loyal bunch too. So that's that's an interesting one. But, like Simo, we've got Simpson. I reckon there's at some point we've got to you've got to call it a day, buddy. It's that's how it is. But as far as Geelong goes, mate, because Geelong have been a top 4 side for quite some time now. And do you think they're going to win a flag next year, Tone, or what do you think?
Yep.
You've got the Messiah.
We've got to get, I mean, he's top 10 this year.
Are you talking about St Kilda or fucking Geelong now?
Geelong.
You just said St Kilda.
No, I said Geelong, mate. Did you? How many vowels you had tonight?
I've had 4. As a Lions stuck in a premiership while I've been out.
Yeah, they're not going to win a flag for a couple of years yet. But I'll tell you what, Hawkins is going to be a question mark for Tomahawk, whether or not you're going to run with him. I don't know if it's time just to, cut your losses and move. And
he's imperative. Without Tom Hawkins, we can't win a flag, I don't reckon.
Well, there you go, Tony. You're emotional about that. And I'm not saying he can or cannot, but someone's just made that tough call. How hard is it?
But you're saying get rid of him because he's shit? Like, what's?
I'm not saying that. I think you need him, but
what I think is like forward lineups, forward dynamics. You got to think of new systems, new ways of kicking goals. And if you've had the same
you've cut him, Walshy. You've cut Tomahawk.
Yeah, that's what you said.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too disappointed if I was a Geelong supporter if you tried something else.
Mate, no,
Tony, you're invested. I felt pain.
I think he's
I'd be.
I mean, Casbolt is the best contested mark in the game. He just can't kick. He just needs to be able to slot goals, a bit like Travis Cloke a couple of years ago. But he's got, statistically, Casbolt is the best forward in the game.
Yeah.
Hawkins, I mean, It's funny. I think it's tall poppy syndrome. I mean, when he was coming up, he was an excellent junior. 18, 19, 20, 21. It was like fucking Hawkins. What the fuck? You know, it happens perhaps with Stringer and these young, talented talls. But then in the third quarter, Roscoe, the third quarter of the 2011. The third. I know that I speak with such sultry tones that the two tones can put you to sleep with our silky voices. But
are you talking about St Kilda? Are you talking about St Kilda or Geelong?
Hang on,
what are you talking about?
Is this Greek mythology or Australian indigenous? Is this Greek? With one eye open. What was that song?